verse 17. So Jesus says the Torah, the prophets until John. Since then, it sounds like there's this contrast. But then you rightly point to the next verse where Jesus seems to go back to upholding Torah. It's interesting that the very next verse, he goes against the certificate of divorce that God gave through Moses. Does he not in verse 18? So what's going on here? It sounds like, it sounds like something's coming to an end here.
Absolutely.
And then he goes back to upholding the law, but then he immediately goes to, it looks like, breaking or doing away with the certificate under the law.
Okay, it's not that hard, because we simply have to understand that when he said, don't imagine I came to destroy the law in the letter, I didn't come to destroy it, but to fulfill it, to bring it to its fulfillment, to tell us what the law really intended in the spirit. So the apparent contradiction is illusory. It's not really a contradiction. We know that Jesus couldn't contradict himself. What he did do was to fulfill, to give fullness in the spirit to the law. And you rightly pointed out that having said that he wasn't going to destroy any of it, he immediately went on to destroy some of it. So you have to harmonize that. It's not impossible at all. And what he harmonized was the law of Moses in the letter being temporary. They asked him, can a man have a divorce? It's in Matthew 19, I believe. Can a man have a divorce for any reason at all? He wasn't talking about separation. The question is not, can a man be separated from his wife for any reason? No. Can a man be divorced? Can a marriage come to an end for any reason? And Jesus said, well, what did Moses say? He said, well, Moses commanded us. That was a command of Moses to put away our wives for whatever reason that was. It doesn't matter, Deuteronomy 24:24. Whatever the technicalities of that reason were, no longer applicable to us anyway, so don't argue about it. Jesus then went on to say, but I'm telling you, Moses allowed you that temporary aspect of divorce. It was for your hardness and heart. And Jesus does not allow us anymore to make hardness of heart the excuse for not obeying God. So now the standard is higher. Jesus himself gives only one exception, that would be complete breaking of the sexual bond in marriage, unforgiven, unrepented. That would allow, if the offended person desires, that would allow him to put away his husband and wife, and that would be a divorce, allowing for remarriage. But that is not the sort of thing that Moses had in mind. Moses, whatever that was, had a more restrictive idea in mind for divorce. That part's gone. So Jesus is not just enforcing Moses in the letter, he's filling up full the Torah in the spirit. That's important.
In verse 6, Jesus said, let no one separate what God has joined. But then he allows for a separation on the very basis of that man. On the one hand, he says, do not let anyone separate what God has put together.
Right.
Then you're saying he does allow for. So my question has to do with, how do we harmonize that seeming contradiction of,
remember, the Hebrew mind grasps its totality. The general principle is quite clear. Marriage is marriage. It's for life. However, there is an exception here. Unless it would be for fornication, that's porneia in the Greek. This would be for sexual infidelity, which going on and is not repented of. Then one has a right to divorce. Only under that condition, not, I repeat, not for the reason, whatever it was, given by Moses, because that was for the hardness of our hearts. We are not permitted to be hard-hearted in the new covenant. We have the Spirit in a new and fresh way. And so marriage then is more binding than it was in the Old Testament. That's quite clear. But Jesus does allow for that one exception.